Hello everyone, welcome back to my English channel. Myself Pushprata. I'm an English teacher. How are you? I hope you all will be better. Okay, I give you the knowledge of English. Similarly, once again, I'm here to tell you something very important related with English. Okay, as you know, three things are very important in any language like reading, writing, and speaking. Suppose you can read English, you can write English, but you are unable to speak, you can't say you are proficient in that language. Similarly, if you can't read well, you're not using a better pronunciation and you don't know how to pronounce any of the word, so there is weakness in that part. Okay, so for that purpose, to improve your pronunciation and to improve your reading skill, I'm here. Okay, I have a topic and I'm going to read that one. You listen carefully. This is the way to read any of the article, any story, any content. You listen how I read the things. The topic is new education policy. Okay, so in our country, what type of education policy should be there? This is my purpose to improve to implement that. Um Education plays a vital role in the social, economic, and cultural development of a country. A strong education system helps individuals develop knowledge, skills, creativity, critical thinking, and moral values, recognizing the changing needs of society and the modern economy. The Government of India introduced the new education policy in 2020 on 29 2020. It replaced the National Policy on Education of 1986 and introduced several major reforms in the school education and higher education. The main objective of NEP 2020 is to transform India's education system into one that is more flexible, inclusive, multidisciplinary, skill oriented, and focused on the overall development of students. The policy aims to provide high quality education to all learners while encouraging creativity, innovation, critical thinking, and lifelong learning. Okay, now I am going to share the objectives of new education policy. The new education policy has several important objectives. One of its primary goal is to provide universal access to quality education from early childhood to higher education. The policy focuses on improving fundamental literacy and numeracy so that every child develops basic reading, writing, and mathematical skill at an early age. Another important objective is to move away from role learning and encourage students to understand concepts through practical learning and real life experiences. NEP 2020 promotes critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, collaboration, and other essential skills required in the modern world. The policy also aims to make education more inclusive by ensuring that students from disadvantaged and economically weaker sections have equal opportunities to learn and succeed. One of the major changes introduced in NEP 2020 is the development of the existing 10 plus 2 school structure with a new curricular and pedagogical structure. The first stage is the fundamental stage, covering 5 years. It includes 3 years of preschool or Anganwadi education followed by class 1 to 2. This stage focuses on play based, activity based, and interactive learning. The second stage is the preparatory stage, covering classes 3 to 5. Students are introduced to more formal learning while continuing to use interacting and activity based teaching. The third stage is the middle stage, covering classes 6 to 8. At this stage, students are introduced to more attract concepts and subject oriented learning. The policy also promotes experimental learning and exposure to vocational education. The final stage is the secondary stage, covering classes 9 to 12. This stage provides greater flexibility in choosing subjects and encourages students to study areas according to their interest and abilities. Importance of early childhood care and education. NEP 2020 gives significant importance to early childhood care and education. The policy recognizes that the early years of a child's life are crucial for physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development. The policy aims to provide quality early childhood education through Anganwadi centers, pre-primary schools, and other educational institutions. Learning at this stage is expected to be based on play activities, storytelling, music, art, and interaction rather than traditional classroom methods. This approach can help children develop foundational skills and prepare them for formal schooling. Focuses on fundamental literacy and numeracy. NEP 2020 places strong emphasis on the fundamental literacy and numeracy. The policy aims to ensure that every child achieves basic reading, writing, and mathematical abilities at an early stage of education. The development of these fundamental skills is considered essential because children who struggle with basic literacy and numeracy may face difficulties in learning more advanced subjects later in their education. Therefore, the policy encourages schools and teachers to give special attention to the foundational learning during the early years. Changes in the examination system. NEP 2020 proposes reforms in the examination and assessment system. Traditional examinations often focuses heavily on memorization, which can encourage role learning. The new policy aims to promote assessment that measures understanding, application of knowledge, analytical abilities, and overall development. The policy also proposes reducing the pressure associated with board examinations. Students are expected to have greater flexibility and opportunities to demonstrate their learning. Assessment reforms are intended to make examinations more meaningful and encourage students to focus on understanding concepts rather than simply memorizing information. Now I am going to share the importance of vocational education. Another major feature of NEP 2020 is the promotion of vocational education policy. The policy aims to provide students with practical skills and exposure to different professions from an early stage. Students may be introduced to areas such as carpentry, gardening, handicraft, coding, agriculture, and other practical skills. The policy encourages students to understand the dignity of labor and develop useful skills that can support employment and entrepreneurship. The vocational education is expected to reduce the gap between academic learning and practical skills required in the workplace. Multidisciplinary education in higher education. NEP 2020 aims to make higher education more flexible and multidisciplinary. Under the policy, students are encouraged to study subjects from different disciplines according to their interest. For example, a student studying science may also have the opportunity to study subjects related to arts, humanities, or social sciences. This approach aims to promote broader knowledge and interdisciplinary thinking. The policy also proposes greater flexibility in undergraduate education, including multiple entry and exit options. This can allow students to receive appropriate academic recognition for the period of study they complete. Promotion of Indian languages. The new education policy gives importance to the development and promotion of Indian language. It encourages the use of the mother tongue or regional language as a medium of instruction, particularly in the early years of education, wherever feasible. The policy also aims to promote multilingualism and encourage students to learn several languages. This is intended to help students understand their cultural heritage while also developing communication skills. Use of technology in education. Technology has become an important part of modern education, and NEP 2020 recognizes its potential to improve teaching and learning. The policy encourages the use of digital resources, online learning platforms, educational applications, and other technologies. Technology can provide students with access to learning materials beyond the traditional classrooms. It can also support teachers through digital resources and training. However, the policy also recognizes the need to address the digital advice so that the students do not have access to devices or reliable internet connections are also left behind. Teachers' education and development. Teachers are at the center of any successful education system. NEP 2020 focuses on improving teacher education, recruitment, training, and professional development. The policy aims to ensure that teachers receive appropriate training and have opportunities to continuously improve their knowledge and teaching methods. It also emphasizes the importance of attracting talented and dedicated individuals to the teaching profession. Well-trained teachers can play a major role in implementing the reforms proposed under higher education reforms. NEP Higher education reforms. NEP 2020 proposes several reforms in higher education. It aims to increase access to higher education and improve its quality. The policy also promotes multidisciplinary institution and greater institutional autonomy. It proposes the establishment of a more streamlined regulatory framework of the higher education and encourages research and innovation. The policy also aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education and create opportunities for students to pursue